All right. Good morning, everyone. How we doing? Happy Monday. It's October 20th. We're taking a look at NQ this morning. We do have a bit of a gap higher. NQ is bumping into that 25 160 level of interest. That's right near last week's high. Essentially, what I'm going to be looking at for today is whether or not sellers are going to continue to defend this area. This has been a little bit of a near term resistance point for the past week. We've been calling this right here kind of a near term range. 4 or 5 session range was pretty clear if you look at the daily chart as well. Very, very wide range, but a range nonetheless. Now, prices back up into that upper portion of the range, right into the edge point. So it makes the main watch for this morning pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We want to see our sellers going to step in and defend this point. We're going to see a little bit of a breakout to start the week up through 160, up through 180, and potentially into the all-time high. That's the upside level from here. Now, if we do see a rejection in this area, we've got some pretty clear levels to work with. 25K, notable level, notable downside level of interest. That's also where that monthly open is at. Then beneath that, you have the 900, which is last week's volume point of control, as well as a level of interest. If we see a failure through there, I will be hands off until about 655 or that prior day low. So that's the game plan for this morning. Let's see how we open up. Let's see how things are looking off the open. No rush this morning, as always, on a Monday. Just looking for our edge, looking for our A plus opportunity and taking it from there. Let's take a look at the intraday, or excuse me, the extended hours. Overnight high, a fresh overnight high was marked at about 3:30 a.m. and that's being retested right now. That's about 25 150. You have prior day high down at 25,055. VWAP right in that area as well. Overnight low down at 955. So kind of between 25K and the 24,900. If price ends up rejecting the 160, I'll definitely be looking at each of these areas just to see if there's any response from buyers or not. That is pretty much the game plan. We got about 4 minutes till the open. I did see there was some AWS outage. So you may be having some issues with your broker if you use Project X. I was seeing there's some Project X issues. So just keep an eye on that. It's never fun. You don't want to be caught in a trade. You don't want to be stuck having to deal with some prop firm customer support and they take 5 days to reply. That's never fun. My streaming software is lagging like crazy. Is the quality okay? Is the stream lagging at all? Let me know. Let me know if it's choppy or anything like that. Seems good. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I just want to make sure. Solid. Solid. TSX is torch. Yeah, I was reading that. I saw some posts in the think tank there about that AWS outage. That's never fun. It's good to know of it. Know about it ahead of time though, so you're not placing trades and having them get stuck or something like that. Yeah, Gabe, that's a good call. That is honestly a good call right there. Gold rally continues nonstop. I know a handful of you made a lot of money on that short on Friday, counter trend trade. It tested last week's volume point of control, now bouncing during the overnight sesh. That's gold for anyone that trades GC. Let's take a look. We got a couple minutes here. See what else we're working with. RTY range bound, kind of in the middle of a near term range right here. See what else. ES. So this is fairly similar to what we have in NQ, although ES is not, it's not quite testing last week's high or the upper edges of that near term range if you compare it with NQ. So a little bit of a different look there on ES. Gabe did a test with Project X and it took almost 5 seconds to flatten a trade. Yeah, that's not good. Was that on MNQ or any ticker specifically or just across the board? One MNQ. Okay. All right, here comes that open. About 10 seconds. Looks like an open, kind of in no man's land here. Nearest reference point, overnight high. There's an overnight high already. And just shy of that 160 level of interest. And last week's high is at 180. It's coming up 25, 180. There's last week's high being tested, 25, 180. So strong open. There's a little look above last week's high. I like to treat the edge points of last week's range just as reference points. It'd be last week's high, last week's low. So two things I'm looking for right now is whether or not acceptance is going to continue to be shown here over the next 5 to 15 minutes above the 160, 180 area, and then whether or not we can actually find an entry. 5 minute shows a gap and go so far. Gap and go. NQ bumping into 25,200. Yeah, next leg higher, 25,220. ES is also just nonstop, up into 67.50 on ES. So a little nibble there on the Lucid accounts. That's a very, very aggressive play. Little retest of last week's high. No issue with Project X on my end so far. We'll see if we lose the data feed or what. Oh, yep, there it goes. There it goes. There's. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Let's see what happens. Will it survive? You can see, I don't know, can you see the bottom left of the screen? No, you can't. It says user API disconnected, attempting to reconnect. So yeah, definitely some Project X issues here. Keeping an eye on NQ on my other screen. There it is. Yeah, I hit a refresh on the Lucid window and it's just there is nothing here. Nothing here. So I'm glad that trail was in profit. But we talked about it before the open. Issues at Project X. I decided to take the risk anyway. So just FYI, if you have not placed a trade yet and you use Project X, you may not wanna mess around. Would not advise that. Would not recommend it. Let's see. Trade away is still golden. We're still chilling on trade away. I opted for Lucid X with that setup because it was so aggressive. Ninja Trader solid, Benny. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing with Trade of 8 too. So focus on the personal account for now. See if Lucid comes back. Let's see his top step. I mean, I imagine it's the same thing. Oh yeah, they have a big notice. We're monitoring an AWS outage. Okay. Diversifying your broker is a good idea. Yes, I agree. I agree. I keep the personal self-funded and trade ovate. And with most of the props I do, it's through Project X. I like the Project X platform. I wonder if they'll ever release, if someone's going to release like a broker side of things that uses Project X. That would be pretty cool. I'll definitely fund an account. So if I'm not mistaken, my Lucid trail would have been hit right there. We will see what happens with that. Still nothing loading. Nothing loading on Lucid. Volume's looking pretty light here. No surprise if brokers are having issues. ES is marking a fresh high on the session. Well, I got the login screen here on Lucid. See if it lets me in. NQ, a little bit of consolidation here above last week's high, 180. The real question is whether this move can sustain post 10 a.m. Post 10 a.m. We're 15 minutes into the morning. Yeah, Lucid says network timeout. Try again. Just a little retest into last week's high. Look at volume. It's just non-existent right now. Andre Australian swing and Russell. Nice. That thing's ripping right now. Solid work. So far, personal account still cash. Got a little retest there at the last week high. Reference point. ES. S&P pressing the highs, coming into 67.55 level of interest. Look at this volume. It's like 30% of average right now. I would bet it's related to the AWS outage. There you go. NQ New Hive Day. What's up, Dom? Good to see you, man. Ten minutes till 10 a.m. We did have data scheduled, but it's unlikely to come out. Benny grabbed that little pullback. Nice. Nice little retrace. Last week's high. You had the 38% fib there as well. Main thing keeping me patient right now is this volume. It's less than half of the average. I mean, that's terribly low. Three and a half minutes till 10 a.m. ES pulling back a little bit. Pretty much tested that 67.55 level of interest. Good to see that area respected. NQ, our upside level is the all-time high. So your next upside level here for NASDAQ. Currently less than 1% away from the all-time high. One minute, 1 minute till 10 a.m. We do have data scheduled, but like I said, unlikely to come out. Let's take a look. How's our volume profile? Yeah, volume point of control has shifted here into 209. Off the open, you had the opening drive move, gap and go. Little pullback there into last week's high. Pretty much the only decent entry I've seen this morning. Did not take that. Still cash in the personal account. We did do the one long setup in the Lucid S2F accounts, but then Project X went down again. So we'll see how that one contract I had open ends up. I'm just curious if the trail is actually going to be executed or not. TBD. By the way, anytime you ever get caught in a trade with a broker or platform issue, it's always a good idea to take screenshots, to do a screen recording, to make sure you have some proof, some documentation that there is an issue, even if it's like a widespread thing. Seems absurd to need proof, but it's good to have your bases covered there. So get those screen recordings, get those screenshots if needed, if you're in a trade. All right, we're past 10 a.m. now. NQ just continuing the structure, the push higher. Personally, nothing I can do here. No man's land. NASDAQ fresh high. ES fresh high. Little uptick in volume right there. So post 10 a.m., the question is, can this move hold? Can we continue to see acceptance basically above this point right through here? How's everyone's morning so far? Anyone trading yet? No, Benny said he caught that last week high retest there. Does no trade day so far. Andreas, RTY trail swing, nice. Ray, no trades. Dean, cash, solid. Sam got that retest, nice. I like the retest. That looks good. Love that mentality right there, Andreas. Drawing the setup on my chart. If I don't get it, I don't trade. Yep. That's disciplined trading right there. Heck yeah. Is your strategy based on ICT concepts? No, I like to trade profitably. So I don't use those concepts. Most of what I do is rooted in Wyckoff and Steedlemeyer, which is the pioneer of volume profile. This really, really, really old stuff. Wyckoff. You can read about his concepts like 100 years old now. Steedlemeyer, I think, was in the 70s or 80s, if I remember correct. But even with those concepts, it's a very, I wouldn't say it's a textbook following. I pretty much use loose frameworks and then kind of apply my own twist to it. It's a lot of market structure. Yeah, exactly, Dom. Exactly. Main thing I like is just simplicity. I like to keep everything as simple as possible. We talk about the volume price analysis by Anna Cooling, really good book. The other one that I like as far as volume profile is concerned is called Markets and Profile. You can check that out. Solid read as far as volume profile is concerned. It's pretty dense, but it's got some good stuff in there. Rereading the Anna Cooling book, yeah, that one's great. It's short, easy to read. You got all the visuals in there. I don't read that many trading books anymore. Actually, I can't even remember the last one I read, to be honest with you. It's all a lot of it is just kind of repurposing, redefining the same concepts. I mean, price can only do so many things. There's only so many things price can do, so many ways it can unfold. Once you kind of have a fairly broad understanding, you start looking into it's the same thing with ICT. You start looking into all these other schools of thought. You're like, oh, this is just a rebrand. This is like a repurposing of that other guy's stuff. At least it's pretty much how I perceive it. Yeah, the mental game of trading. I've not read that, but I've heard really good things. The classic for mindset is definitely going to be trading in the zone though. Favorite trading book is the order book, Chrissy. My favorite trading book is my playbook, my journal. That's truly where all the sauce is. Right in there. Yeah, VPA, volume price analysis by Anna Cooling. We have a free copy in the Traders Think Tank, free PDF copy. NASDAQ pulling back into session volume point of control, a little micro pullback. Almost 1 hour into the sesh, there is nothing to do here. Still cash on the personal. This might be an early day. Looks like Lucid's still down. 10 minutes till that next 30-minute bar closes. And NASDAQ just sitting on volume point of control yet again. Back in a session highs right there. ES doing the same. Gabe, nice work, man. I saw that gold trade. It's all Wyckoff. Let's go. Let's go. Heck yeah. NQ, fresh high. NQ intraday structure is holding up nicely. Just a series of higher lows. Yeah, this thing's going for the all-time high. ES into the highs as well. RTY looks like a nice bounce versus VWAP. Volume point of control held as support. Yeah, I like it. I like it as a BB plus opportunity versus a reference point. That RTY setup. Pretty clean there on Russell. ES into session highs. Coming into last week's high now. ES. Des got the Russell long nice. Solid work. 1 minute till that next 30-minute bar opens up. $394 is your all-time high on NQ. So about another 100 points, and it's there. See if Lucid is back up yet. Looks like no. Let's see if Top Step X will load. Also looks like no. Yeah, Lucid can't log in. And Top Step X at least won't load at all. We have a very slight improvement in volume here on NQ, at least for time of day. I'll probably give it another 10 minutes here, then I'm going to call it. The likelihood that we see a retest into one of the key areas that I want is possible, but anytime soon, maybe not. Maybe not. So just take the no trade day in the personal account and call it. Call it a morning. So the main focus this morning was how price responded to that 160, 25, 160 previous near-term range high, calling this the range right here, 160 by 450. Breakout triggers. And then the next upside level is your all-time high. So that move is underway. Question is then, can you find an entry? Was one entry right here, another right through here. That made sense to me. And the personal passed on both of those. And then the S2F accounts, well, we were long from right here, but then Lucid went down. So we'll see if we're we will see if we're still in that contract or not whenever this thing comes back up. I think I'm going to call it right there. I think we'll call it, take the no trade day and just call it a morning. Thank you guys for your time. See if we get some better action tomorrow. We'll keep it going this morning in the Traders Think Tank. Pretty slow day, though. Pretty slow morning. Till then, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care.